$500 at the top end. Dr. Eli Karam's in the studio with me. We're going to talk about sports addictions. Let's talk about people first off, though, that follow bands.
Yeah.
How in the world do they afford that?
Well, it's the same thing. Being a fan, whether it be of sports or music, it's like you devote a significant amount of your life and sometimes financial resources to following people that, there is no logical explanation for it other than that you feel a part of something. And to spend that kind of money to go and see an Eagles concert, I mean, they're obviously doing something right to
what
be able
does
to
that
keep
reward,
their fans.
though?
Yeah, well,
what center in someone's brain does that reward to say? I'm curious about that. People that say follow a band and just do that for a long time.
Well, it's okay. It's belonging to something. It's especially when you became a fan. So maybe you became a fan a long time ago when before they got discovered, before they got big. So it's feeling like a long-term part of something. So group affiliation. It's a form of escapism too. It's like, we can deal with our problems, or we can go and listen to this music. And for a lot of times, people, music specifically, we'll talk about sports later, but they can relate it to a certain time in their life when they heard that song. It was cathartic or therapeutic from them.
Or they were dating the hot girl and they were in college or whatever. But it's like, what, dude, that's 30 years ago.
That's right.
What do you do? It's 30 years later. And what do you say to someone who's, well, it's just, I got to go hear I mean, nothing against the Eagles or anybody, but it's just, it's interesting to me that their affinity for a group to go to the level of, say, traveling and seeing 4 different dates. It's just fascinating to me.
It is, and it's a combination between, again, escapism, belonging to something. Also, this nostalgic thing. It takes you back to a time in your life, either where things are simpler or where
you were skinnier.
That's right.
You had your hair.
And people can go back for one night for $600.
Like that commercial we run sometimes where the guy says, "What happened, man?
That's right.
You used to be so cool and the chicks loved you."
It does show you something, though, about kind of brand loyalty and what type of following you can develop to be able to kind of ride that nostalgic vibe, in the sense that a lot of these touring acts, they're not having to produce new music. They're not having to do. They have created such a brand and a memory that they can draw people on that alone.
Good for them. Dr. Eli Karam is president of the Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapists, and works at the University of Louisville Kent School of Social Work.
That's right.
So we are in this season, though, where people just go nuts over basketball.
It's a good time to
I'm guilty as charged, first off. I love the games. I watched them all weekend. But we have to use a little bit of caution when we wade into this pool, right?
Well, March Madness, I mean, it's a really apropos title in the sense that people go extreme, especially this time of year. And, hey, I'm the same way. It's a great time to be growing up in Louisville and being a professor at the University of Louisville. It's a great time to be there. But what makes people so loyal to their sports teams? And you can think of those same things we were talking about a second ago. It's a sense of belonging, Terry. Some people may not have a college degree. They might not have any type of group or anything else belong to. But being a University of Louisville fan or a Kentucky fan, I mean, especially in these parts when we don't have professional sports, it is the chance to belong, and it bridges socioeconomic groups, different parts of the state. It is like an identity, especially basketball, more than anything else around Kentucky.
Indeed. Well, and the legacy that goes along with it. But what about if there's someone in your life who takes losses so severely you can't talk to them for 2 days? How do you handle that when you're a person who's tied to somebody who is a nut? I mean, that's what they are. They're not fanatic. Fan is short for fanatic. And people who don't talk to Jimmy, his team lost.
Well, you have to think about why that is. And some people, they are so much in the moment and they want to belong so much that they really do. They take it like they are a part of the group. We won. We lost. It's like, they are a part of it.
I say that too.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think we can, whatever?
That's how people say, though, when we win, we're riding high off that. We won. And then when they lose, they lost. Oh, Patino,
they lost.
They lost, right. So we own it. No, it's really a social, psychological phenomenon, kind of this in-group bias versus out-of-group bias. So the people that really get hooked on it, it's this type of stress. People think stress is always bad. There's this type of stress called eustress, which combines, stress with kind of adrenaline, a euphoric thing. So it's this positive thing. It's the same reason people like to sit on the edge of their chairs. They don't want to watch their sporting events DVR'd because they are living in the moment with that team. And you'll see also fans, maybe you've seen this too, go into some ritualistic behavior. Oh, it's the tournament. I got to wear this piece of clothing. I got to sit on this part of the couch. That they really get into what taken out of context would look like really extreme, bizarre behavior, but it fits the moment of March Madness.
Oh, it is crazy, though. I mean, other people laugh at it.
Sure.
Sorry, let's go to where we talked about here, the psychology of a sports fan versus an addict. When do you know that the person that you love is addicted?
Yeah.
What are signs so that you know that you need to take some action or do something?
Well, it's when you're thinking about sports at all times of your life. So whether you're supposed to be prioritizing time with your kids, you're supposed to be focused at work, even having sex with your wife, and you can't stop thinking about the NCAA tournament or whatever your sport
Boy, she
is.
thinks that's sexy.
That's right. And it's becoming, as you said earlier, when a game is interrupted or you have to do something, it is a major irritation to you, even so that you plan significant events around a game or don't attend family events or your children's activities because a game is on. Now, some people, no one wants to admit they do that, but a lot of people plan, especially in the fall, for if they're football fans, their Sunday around their NFL.
Well, and right now, we don't know. Hoosier fans don't know what time they would play on Saturday should they win on Thursday. Louisville fans do not know what time they'll play on Sunday should they win on Friday. And really, a lot of Sunday's Easter.
That's right.
What time are we going to eat? I don't know. We have to find out when Louisville's going to play if they make it.
It is exactly true that they're willing to kind of put your life on hold till you figure out what's going down with the game. Also, another sign that you're kind of crossing that line, it's infringing on your day-to-day life. You're becoming depressed, or as you said earlier, kind of violent when your team loses. That it could ruin not only... some people are upset their team loses and they kind of recalibrate pretty quickly, go on with the rest of their day. Some people are really taken down by this in the sense that, especially with a team like Louisville that's playing so well and is peaking, if they lose, lots of people are going to be disappointed. You're going to be disappointed. I'm going to be disappointed. But there will be some people that have kind of engaged so much and kind of escaped from the rest of their life.
All right, the crazy person can't see that they're crazy, but what do you do to sort of let them know, illuminate them a little bit to say, you know what, let's pull that back a little bit. Let's take it down a notch or three.
Right. Well, if you're a spouse or a significant other of that person, you want to kind of be able to set limits around that so that the task of day-to-day life, managing a family, managing a relationship, your work expectations, nothing gets in the way of that. Another good way to just show someone how much they're doing it is keep a log of the time. I mean, by the time you watch your Sports Center, you check your scores online, you watch a couple games, most people historically don't do a good job. Most fans bordering on addicts don't do a good job assessing exactly how much time they're watching the sport.
How do you do that gently without looking like you're parenting your significant other?
Right. Well, you kind of ask them to do it and have them take kind of ownership over the time. And you ask them, okay, what do you think a reasonable amount of time given what we got to do raising the kids, what we got to do as a couple, and what do you think is a reasonable amount of time to watch sports? And depending on the season or like tournament time, it might change. But generally, there's an agreed upon time. And then the person has to kind of keep track of that themselves. Also, this idea of making it a both and, that you would not want to take the person's love of sports away from them, Terry, but you also wouldn't want it to get in the way of other things. So a lot of times, whereas you might not be able to hear it from a spouse, if you're a little, like if my 5-year-old came and told me that he was missing out on spending time with me because I'm watching the game, I might hear that differently than I would from somebody else. So sometimes when your kids can give you the feedback that you're overdoing it, that's a tough one. But it also starts out as that's a great bonding thing too. We talk about these negatives, but it never starts out that way. It starts out with a way to have connection. And most sports start, we started out 8 or 9 years old. We were watching a sport, and we probably watched it with our dad or our brothers, and it became this point of connection.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah,
for sure.
It feels good.
All right, we're going to run out of time here. When we come back in about 10 or 12 minutes, I want to talk about gambling, issues with gambling and money and all that stuff that happens to fall in the sports realm as well. Dr. Eli Karam online, EliKaram.com. The heck kind of an intro is that for you, Dr. Eli? A nasty reputation as a cruel dude. One thing in common. Yeah, there you go. Dr. Eli Karam is with us, president of the Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. He's at the University of Louisville Kent School of Social Work. We're continuing our chat we started a few minutes ago because it is March Madness season, and I like Eagles music. I was just playing it today. Our conversation was on psychology of sports fans versus addicts, where people go over the line, they let it sort of control their lives, and they give up their own family time.
Yeah.
Money issues wreck families, though. There's no two ways about that. We've talked about this in the past, but now that it's March Madness and some people get carried away with sports gambling.
Yeah.
All right, things to watch for and things to do.
Yeah, so if the gambling becomes something, again, that is covert, you are not telling your partner about it. Lots of people bet on sports, and they can do it in moderation. They can do it in a way that is transparent to their spouse or significant other, and they can do it within a budget. And then, it could be an enjoyable part of being a fan. If it crosses that line, though, Terry, if you are doing it covert.
I see my wife through the studio window right there. She's hooked.
Is she hooked?
Oh, my God.
She has a bookie on the side.
She won't admit it. She's going to run away right now. But oh, my God, she's on the phone. Yeah, give me $200. Look at her right there. You are hooked. Give it up, sister. I'm outing you on the air right now. But she's probably in there betting Ian something right now about his Ball State team, and they're not even in the tournament. Oh, I'll put $200 down.
But the idea, that what goes from fandom to becoming, degenerating to just betting on anything.
What do I do when I open my online checking account and I see that my wife has exhausted it again?
That's right.
Betting on Florida Gulf Coast University. What? We won? No, seriously, when somebody is pressing the family limit, my wife, I'm making all this up, of course, is not a big sports fan. She loves her Louisville Cardinals, and that's it. But people do. They get out of line, and the rents do. The kids have tuition needs or whatever. There's school books that they have to have, and there's certain monies that have to be stored for certain things. Shouldn't you protect all that and have a discussion about all that before somebody says, hey, the guys we want to go to Vegas and have a big, March Madness weekend?
Yeah, in general, we were talking in the first segment, fandom, there should be a dollar amount on fandom anyway, because even following, not even talking about gambling, even following a team, going to March Madness, if you go to Indy this weekend, you spend a lot on tickets, you get a hotel room, that's a lot of money. So you want to be transparent with your partner on whether it be gambling or fandom, the most that you're going to spend, and that should be agreed upon limit. And this idea that many times the problem gambler doesn't think they have a problem. It's kind of part of them, or they think they can get it back. They just had a bad week.
I'm going to get it back, honey. I'm going to get it back.
I've done my bracketology. I know what I'm doing here.
It's numbers, baby. I know what I'm doing.
That's right. And
tell them what's going to happen, Eli. You're not going to get it back.
You're not going to get it back, and you're going to dig yourself into kind of a deeper hole with your support network, your significant others, those people are trying to support you. So the best policy is honesty. And again, if you cannot be transparent around your gambling, another indicator that you probably have an issue, Terry. So motives for being a sports fan are, entertainment, this idea, as we talked about earlier, group affiliation. But if you are doing it as a way, when you start to get away from that and you start to get kind of hooked on the feeling of the rush you get, again, this euphoric / stress feeling of betting on a game and watching the outcome. There's a fine line between the euphoric feeling that we get as a fan being a part of something and the rush we get from wagering on something that we have no emotional connection to at all, other than, if we beat this spread, I get this much or not. So there's a difference between following a team, building up a loyalty and a fan base, and then just going overboard as far as only being interested in the wagering component.
Well, yeah. Let's say, take for instance, Indiana. They were supposed to thump whatever team a few days ago, and I noticed people online were tweeting, "Oh, yeah, this is good, but the spread is 20, and they're whatever." And it's like you can't even enjoy the game because you're caught up in worried about losing $20 or $200 or whatever you threw down there.
Right. And you not can only go enjoy the game. A lot of times we watch sports and we feel a part of something because that's the time we come together with our friends. And maybe that is a link for some of our friends. So it's not like you're not even enjoying the experience. You're not getting the social element. You're just so attached to the outcome that you're actually alienating the people that are closest to you.
It is a form of entertainment, though. For someone who says, let's budget, and they work it out with their partner, let's budget whatever per month, and then as long as you don't violate that, you're in the good, right?
Yeah.
You're not hurting your marriage if you say, I'm going to put away $300 for this month, and that's what that's for.
Yeah, if you're not secretive about it, but it's also kind of another myth that as long as I have it to lose or have it to spend, it's not a problem. No, if it is dominating your time, if you can't move on with the task of day-to-day life, as we were talking about in the earlier segment, it's a problem, even if you have the expendable income. And if you can't be transparent with your partner about it, it's a problem.
Were you just checking your phone to check scores?
I was just checking, checking what's going on. I'm
making sure you weren't checking scores.
But that's another thing, too. It's like, right, the idea of the technology now makes it so much easy to be obsessed with sports 24/7, whether it be gambling or not. And this idea of fantasy leagues, too, we didn't even talk about that. It's like people say, they view it as a science, or we're getting ready to get into horse racing season, Terry, when, people that think, when they wager on horses, it is a science they've researched. They view it as something more pure than just degenerate gambling of betting on anything. So it's
that's fun if you want to do that. But again, work it out with your partner, agree on a limit, and don't violate that. If you violate that, there's something.
Honesty is the best policy.
You got other issues going on that you're going to have to repair somewhere down the road, and it's not going to be sweet.
Don't dip into the kids' college fund.
It's got to be painful. Dr. Eli Karam's online at elikaram.com. His last name is spelled Karam. And we'll see you again in a couple weeks, all right?
Playing me out with the Eagles. There you go. Eagles rolling you out. We've been in an all Eagles segments. I'll race you to the car for $1. Go!